It's funny because you think that after millions and millions of years of evolution, that our brains would just get it at one point, and it would understand that you don't need to be overthinking. It would understand that if you send a text message, you don't need to be thinking of what if I sent this text message too early? Should I have waited a little bit for my response? It's not going to be thinking if my friends actually like me or if they actually don't like me. It's not going to think what if this girl actually wants to date me or if I'm just like pushing her away. Like all these like intrusive thoughts that goes on in your head for no reason at all, for no like basis other than your brain trying to cope and think that, oh, this dude's going through anxiety, he's in some stressful situation, let me think of like 500 different scenarios that can happen and so that I can plan for it. And your brain's just trying to help you out. Like just give your brain some, like go easy on your brain, bro. Like he's actually trying to take care of you, but he doesn't know that he's causing you more mental health problems, because your brain, every time you're in some sort of stressful, anxiety inducing situation, it's going to try to come up with scenarios in your head just so you're better able to plan for it in the future. But it doesn't even end up giving you it doesn't give you a solution, it just gives you problems. I remember when I was in high school, man, I would overthink about my overthinking. I'm already, my mind's going at 200 miles an hour thinking about, well, I don't know if like, what if I walk into this room, everyone's just staring at me and they start judging me because like my hair is too long or like I have a little bit of extra face fat and my skin's kind of like, I'm insecure about my skin, right? So I'm like, what if they start like judging me because of my skin color? And it's like, even though like I've proven myself time and time again that it doesn't really matter because I've gone to this school for 3 years now. So how can I still be overthinking about this? And of course, my brain being my brain, it's still going on about it. And then I start overthinking about my overthinkings, thinking, am I thinking too much about this? Like, should I think about it a little less? Like, you got a problem when you're overthinking about your overthinking. And so I tried figuring out ways how to fix my overthinking because it's ruining my life, bro, honestly. But because I can't talk to normal people properly because how am I gonna talk to them when all I'm thinking about is, I wonder if they think I'm weird, I wonder if they don't actually enjoy talking to me. And so it's like I'm having all these thoughts in my head, so how am I supposed to think of what to say and what to actually talk about? And so I'd usually just ask them like surface level questions like, oh, like, what do you think, who do you think is gonna win the NBA title next year? And it's just some like a little thing, just so it's like if I'm in a group of people, they all start discussing it and I can just sit back and just listen and not have to say anything. First way to help your overthinking is by meditating. And I already know that you're thinking, oh, this dude's just gonna say the same thing everybody else is saying. No. Okay, listen, you're only like 5 minutes into the video. I'm not gonna be talking about meditation the whole video. But meditation does work. It's why everybody talks about it, because it helps you stay grounded in the present moment. When you're up here constantly thinking of the past or the future, thinking, oh, what if they don't like me? What if I don't actually graduate from school? What if I end up being homeless after I graduate college? What if I can't get a job? What if my friends don't really like me? All these what ifs, when you're constantly thinking about it, you are not in the present moment. When you're not in the present moment, how can you really enjoy your life? Meditation is basically exercise for your brain, the same way how you go to the gym to exercise your body, because it is the same way every single time you are overthinking, every time you're thinking of something that's happened like 5 years ago and you're meditating, you're only focusing on your breath and you catch yourself thinking about something else and you bring your attention back to the present moment, back to your breath. That's one rep for your brain. Congratulations. You've actually made one step forward into like curing your overthinking. Because the same way you exercise your body to build muscles, when you're meditating, you're building brain muscles to actually combat your overthinking, to actually stop it. And so you're able to stay in the present moment. This will literally help you stop ruminating. And so you'll recognize every time your brain goes off the rails. And what I like to do is literally just say to myself, stop, out loud. You really got to treat your own brain like a little kid and put it on a leash. My mom used to put a leash on me when I was a little kid, like not around my neck, of course, but she put like these little hand leashes for children. She wrapped a leash around my hand just so I wouldn't run around and stuff, because she knew if once she let me go, that's it, bro. I'm running down the street. I'm going to play with like the grass, because your brain is literally a little child. You really need to put a leash around it, show it that you're in control. Your brain's not in control of you. You are in control of your brain. You're in control of this body. And so every time your brain goes off and starts thinking of something else and you realize it, just tell it to stop. The same way how if your dog's misbehaving, you'll look at your dog, you'll be like, stop. And like literally the dog will listen to you. You gotta treat your brain the same way. You really gotta just say stop to yourself out loud, and your brain will listen. And the more you do it, like it's gonna be difficult, of course, at first, of course. But the more you do it, the more you'll recognize yourself doing it, and that really like comes from, and like meditating really helps you with that, like catching yourself falling into that loop. Next thing you could do when you're overthinking is to basically mirror the questions that you're overthinking about and ask yourself the opposite. So for example, just let's say you like this girl and you want to take her out on a date, but you're too scared to actually ask her out because of like the few times you talk to her, it's built up some more insecurity in yourself, thinking, what if she doesn't like me? What if she's gonna say no? As soon as you catch yourself saying that, ask yourself, well, what if she does like me? What if she says yes? What if she's been waiting for me to ask her out, but I've just been too scared? And what that does is it reframes your mind to think of the positives rather than the negatives. And so that every time you're overthinking and then you're also overthinking about the positive sides, it balances out. You start having more positive beliefs about yourself the more you do it. And so instead of thinking, what if I fail all my classes? You start thinking, well, what if I do pass all my classes? What if I don't fail all my classes? What if I do graduate and get a nice job after I finish college? Because the words you say to yourself really do impact your state of being. You know, literally, this is like scientifically researched where you can talk to two different plants. You can like swear at a plant. You could tell it that it's useless. You can tell the plant that it's not going to grow or anything. And you could have another plant and tell it you love it, that it's so beautiful, that's going to grow one day, inshallah. And what ends up happening is that the plant that you're cussing out doesn't even grow. Like it ends up dying off like early. But the plant that you're actually giving like positive affirmations, actually speaking to it kindly, it grows, and it grows faster than like a plant that has like nothing, just left alone in the light. So like the words that you're saying to yourself when you're saying that, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not worthy to have friends? What if my teacher doesn't even like me? What if my teacher wants me to fail? Like you're constantly saying all these negative thoughts to yourself, thinking these negative thoughts to yourself, then you're going to make it into a reality, because it's all you're filling your mind with. But once you flip the script and fill your minds with positivity, thinking, what if my teacher wants me to succeed? You know, what if this girl's waiting for me to ask her out? What if I'm walking down the street and I find $100 on my way home? Because you can't get rid of negative thoughts and not replace it. You need to be able to replace it with something else. So when you replace it with these positive thoughts, then your whole outlook of life changes towards more positive rather than negative. And let's say it doesn't work out, right? This is also another thing you can do, is challenge your overthinking, challenge your catastrophizing thinking. Every time when your brain starts going into overdrive thinking, like all these what ifs, think to yourself, and what if this happened, and what is the worst that can happen? Because 90% of the time it's not even going to be that bad. Like let's say you want to ask out a girl, literally the worst thing she could say is no. You know, if you actually go up to her and ask her out, but your brain doesn't think that, your brain is going to think, oh, what if she actually, your brain is going to make the situation seem like 10 times worse, when really all that's going to happen is you get rejected. And that's really it. It's not, you're not going to get devoured by her. She's not going to shoot you in the head. Literally all she's going to say is no. And you realize that I've been overthinking and overanalyzing this situation for so long just for her to reject me. And you realize that you're still breathing, you're still alive, you can still see the world around you, you can still hear everything that's going on around you. You are still you. And so you need to challenge every single time your brain starts going into overdrive, because 9 times out of 10 it's really not that bad. Another thing too is that you realize that there are multiple outcomes to a situation, right? The best case scenario, worst case scenario. Imagine if you want to go make some new friends at school and you kind of have to like Imagine that you want to go make some new friends at school because you don't know anybody. You're a new person there. You're the new guy there. And you see a group of guys that you want to go talk to, but you're too scared because you're fearing rejection. Then you really need to analyze what is going to happen in this situation. The best case scenario is they say yes. And most of the time, that's what's going to happen. The best case scenario is going to occur. But let's say, for this example, the worst case scenario happens, right? So, the worst case scenario, they say no. Okay, not only did you just overthink and think that something big was going to happen if they like said no, but this no, after they said no, this is your new reality. You realize this is your new reality, that you're going to get rejected by people. And so when you go to a new group of friends that you want to go hang out with, you know that if the best case scenario happens, if they do become your friends, then you've made new friends. But if the worst happens, you've already dealt with the worst case scenario with a previous group of friends, so it's not going to impact you as much. So you really need to learn to love your failures and learn to love your mistakes, because through failing, through making mistakes is when you grow and learn. David Dita would always say, lean beyond your edge and don't fake it, because you need to learn to love the unknown, learn to love your anxieties, your fears. Every little thing that scares you, you need to learn to love it, because once you show love to these areas of your life, that's when you stop overthinking. That's when you stop treating fear as fear. You start seeing fear as an opportunity, and you start reframing your overthinking to see it as a way to challenge yourself, to grow as a person. You really need to detach yourself from the outcome so that it's not impacting your mental state of being, because you and your body are not the same. You're literally a soul controlling this body. So whatever happens to this body is happening to your body. It's not happening actually to you. Another thing you could do is literally turn everything off. Turn your phone off, turn your computer off, turn everything off. Get out a piece of paper, get a pencil, pen, and just write everything out. Write out all the things that you're worrying about, all the things you're overthinking about. And what you'll find is, as you continue to write about it, when you actually logically write it out and then speak it out loud, you realize that it is so irrational, the type of like stuff that you're overthinking about. Your brain is like a computer. It has storage. But just like a computer, you only have such a limited amount of storage that once you run out of storage, you can't do anything else with it. You can't add anything new. You can't get rid of anything unless you delete it. And the best way for you to delete the thoughts in your head is by writing it out. Write out all your problems that you're overthinking. Speak it out loud. And what you find is that you've transferred all this data in your head. You've transferred it onto this piece of paper. This piece of paper is like an external SSD drive for all the thoughts in your head. So now that you have these thoughts written out in your notebook, in the piece of paper that you have, your brain can finally free off space in your head. Now you have space for you to think about your problems, to actually plan out how to solve them, how to actually stop your overthinking, how to actually solve the problems that you've been dealing with. And you realize that most of these problems aren't even that significant. Most of them are so irrational that you're literally thinking about it for no reason at all. Additionally, you can also go for a walk afterwards. This is probably my favorite thing to do, is literally because I really have this hard time thinking. I'm thinking about this next YouTube idea. I'm thinking about like this new book I'm gonna read. I'm thinking about how I'm gonna spend time with my family more. All these thoughts in my head, bro. I literally just write everything out, write everything I could think of. And once my brain is finally empty, I'll go for a walk. Because now that I have space in my head, I can actually think. And walking, you should already be walking for your health. It's really good for your mental health. But when you're walking, and by the way, don't take your phone with you, don't take any earbuds with you, just walk in silence. The reason why you need to turn everything off is because your brain is overloaded with information. And when you're on your phone, or you're playing video games, you're doing homework, you're doing like schoolwork, you're scrolling on TikTok, you're scrolling on Instagram, your brain is processing so much information in such a short amount of time that your brain will like run out of space. Like, it needs space to be able to think, but if it's constantly consuming information, trying to process every little pixel that's on the screen, your brain's going to malfunction. So you need to give it time to actually take a break and not have to do any work. Going on a walk is like restarting your brain. When you're walking in silence, that's when you're able to come up with new ideas. You're in a different environment where it's a lot more slow paced. So your brain can actually slowly and surely think. This is how you actually stop overthinking.